Hello and welcome to the 3 Championship Drive podcast hosted by me, Lance Caporossi. We have some updates on the Jalen Duren contract negotiation with the Detroit Pistons. They're not a good update. We haven't seen any money thrown around yet. But the update is, and this has been my concern since these negotiations basically have happened, since the first time we've heard that the negotiating table was taking the wrong turn. I've been saying that these negotiations, someone's going to get upset and someone's going to have a bad taste in their mouth when they walk away from the negotiating table. So the news comes from Tim McMahon, and this is from the Hoop Collective podcast. He says the negotiations between the Pistons and Jalen Duren have been awfully nasty, and there is concern about his long-term future in Detroit. Remember when we heard the news that the Detroit Pistons, weren't considering the sign and trades or weren't listening to teams? Basically, if Jalen Duren's team, they found a team like, hey, the Kings, the Lakers, the Hornets, whoever. We found a trade. Let's look at it. I don't know if it meant like Trajan Langdon was just, yeah, okay, and then just closing the door on them. But if there are any teams that are interested in Jalen Duren, you probably don't get the max value you possibly can for him. But I just think the writing's on the wall with this report. And just say, I don't know, maybe the time in Detroit is done. Maybe we're good. Like, we tried to negotiate. We don't know what the holdup is. But whatever it is, we continue to make you upset. So maybe it's just not a good fit. So yeah, go out and explore some more teams. Let's find a team and let's work on a sign and trade and let's get you out of here. Let's make both parties happy. I think that just needs to be done. And I don't know what is going on in Jalen Duren's mind, because you look at the scenario so far that the only team that has been reported to have been interested in Jalen Duren during a sign and trade was the Sacramento Kings. We haven't heard anything else. So if it is truly only the Sacramento Kings, there's no way he sees that and says, well, there's at least one team that they're willing to give me the money. So let's just hold out until they give me. That doesn't make any sense. It just, and then also, like, I don't know. I mean, is 35 million really that bad of a number? It's close to 40 million. That really bothers him. Then I'm good. Like, I don't care I don't care that he was an all-star. I don't care that he was the member of the All-NBA third team. I'm good. Like, if this is his attitude, I totally understand a player going out there and getting the top dollar. I understand that. And he is like 35 million. If that's what the number is, that's fine. I heard there was a number like 180 million. Okay. If that's what the market says, then that's what the market says. That's your market value. They're not, just because the max offer is thrown on the table doesn't mean you're worth it. All NBA third team and all-star once doesn't mean anything. That's great achievements. It opens the door for this. But when you have a bad playoff performance, then yeah, you don't deserve the max. That's just common sense. But he is getting what he's worth. I don't understand what the complaint is. That's why I say ship him out. I don't care if he's the second coming of Sean Kemp or whatever. I don't know what the comparisons are to Jalen Duren, but Sean Kemp felt like a good one in the heat of the moment. It's just frustrating to me. I'm like, if maybe Dallas is interested and maybe Daniel Gafford, maybe they do that. I'm okay with it. Fine. That's fine with me. I'm cool. Like, when Daniel Gafford's healthy, he does the same thing. Sure, he's not 20-10, but he sets a mean screen. He rolls to the rim. He catches the ball. He finishes at the rim, and he plays defense. That's fine. I will take that over a big man that gets lost in the big moments, which are the playoffs. looks great during the regular. I'm good on all that. I don't care about you being an all-star big. Just do the things Daniel Gafford does. I know I'm being hard right now, but this is just such a frustrating situation. I can't imagine being Trajan Langdon, but as a fan, this is just incredibly annoying. It's a lot of money on the table, and it's just like you're playing basketball. I love basketball. It's great. I would do it for a quarter of what you're making, but damn, like, it's life-changing money. If that's what you're after, that's what you're getting. It's just frustrating as a fan to see it. And that's just not what I want to root for in Detroit. I saw this comparison earlier today, and this was on social media. And, it cracked me up just a little bit because I hate that we do this as fans. I hate that we put some of these guys up on these incredible pedestals and we set these expectations just to be through the roof. And yeah, sometimes they're fun to talk about, but other times they're just like, just open your eyes and watch them play before we say anything. Like, there's a lot more to these guys' game than just he's a jump shot away. But the comparison is Ausar Thompson might be the next Kawhi Leonard. The two-way potential is already there. If his offense catches up, the sky's the limit for Ausar. Yeah, I fell for it. I fell for the clickbait. I'm talking about it. But, like, I just was thinking about this, and I'm like, why stop at Kawhi? Why not go to Kobe? Why not go to Dwayne Wade? Why not go to Michael Jordan? Why not do that? Why stop at Kawhi? I don't get it. Anyways, you don't want to put too lofty of expectations on him now. But Kawhi Leonard, that's fine. I just think it's so much more complicated than Ausar Thompson. If he develops a jump shot, he's going to be this great, magnificent offensive player. Like, that helps. That certainly helps. But I was thinking about this, and I was, you're thinking about Kawhi, you're thinking about Ausar Thompson, and you're like, okay, well, what does Ausar Thompson actually have to do to become Kawhi Leonard? And that's the fun part of this, I guess, in a way for me, because, like, I'm not saying I see it. I definitely don't. Kawhi, in my opinion, he might be a one of one. And that's not to say we'll never see another Kawhi, but he's so precise with everything he does. He just cuts you like a surgeon on the basketball court. He's very, like, everything has been perfected in an empty gym with nobody watching. And he just displays it every time he goes onto the basketball court. He's just incredible. Like, you can't, it's so lofty of a comparison. That's what's so frustrating. But, like, let's just play it out for a minute. What would Ausar Thompson have to do? He'd have to transform, because he is incredible in transition. When he can get out in the open, just a couple dribbles, he's at the hoop. Kind of reminds you of, like, a slightly shorter Giannis Antetokounmpo. And, like, he relies too much on, like, I mean, I wouldn't say relies too much, but moving without the ball, especially cutting to the hoop, a couple things would have to change. He'd have to become a better perimeter shooter. Obviously, he would have to be, just to open things up. That's a lofty, crazy goal in itself, too. And I'll throw another name out there in a minute. But he'd have to become a better perimeter shooter, and he'd have to be able to operate inside the mid-range. Like, to be Kawhi Leonard, you have to hit the perimeter shooting has to be at least 36% on decent volume, which, again, that's crazy to think. That's why I don't like the comparison. But then he has to be able to operate in the mid-range. Has not only be able to shoot mid-range, but be able to play with the ball a little, dance with the defense, bring a little wiggle to his game. That's what he would have to do. That's the only way it works with Kawhi. Like, you got to be able to isolate in the mid-range, you have to be able to shoot in the mid-range, and you have to be able to post up in the mid-range. And then you have to be so methodical on offense that you are, like I said earlier, cutting opponents like you're a surgeon in an operating room. That's what you have to do. And that's why I say it's absolutely ridiculous to compare him to Kawhi Leonard. It's just too lofty of expectations. Like, I don't want to think about that and be like, yeah, you know what? He's close. He's just a jump shot and a floater away. No, he's way more than that. He's just not cerebral like Kawhi Leonard. Like, I already look at Ausar Thompson, and this is not the comparison I'm making, but right now, when I watch Ausar Thompson play, like I get so many Gerald Wallace vibes. It's just I was watching Gerald Wallace and I was watching Ausar, and I'm like, this is the guy. This guy, he's a little bit more controlled, and he definitely takes care of himself a little bit more. And what I'm getting at is Gerald Wallace, apparently he had like a terrible appetite. Like, I mean, a terrible, wow, why am I blanking on the word? Like what he would eat during the offseason was just terrible for his body. And that's why I guess I was listening to a podcast and they were talking about him. They're like, yeah, his downfall was not surprising to anybody that knew him. But when I watch Ausar, I see that. And he made, I mean, Gerald Wallace made a 10-year, I think it was maybe 14-year career in the NBA as just basically like a crash test dummy on the basketball court. Ausar could do that. I would rather have him be a little bit more Sean Marion, a little bit more redefined. But like, dude, if he's Gerald Wallace with a little bit more control, it can still be a threat in the perimeter game. Like, I'm totally cool with that. But if I wanted him to be like more of a go-to, I can just throw him the ball with a few seconds left on the clock and say, go give me a bucket, without him having the 3-point line, the 3-point shot in his arsenal, because it's just too much to ask. Like, if I'm asking this of next season, here's the name I would throw out. And maybe you agree, maybe you don't agree, but it's Jimmy Butler. Like, they definitely have different physicalities to their body. They're definitely different in that regard. But the defense tenacity is there. The dog in them is there. The hard workers in them in there. I just think, like, if he can be Jimmy Butler, where he can stand on the perimeter, have a 1-2 dribble pull up, or bully his way into the post and be efficient at the rim, that's way more of a fair comparison. And I don't think those are too lofty of expectations for Ausar. If we can get him going downhill a little bit more with the ball in his hands and just have a pull-up jumper from 15 to 18 feet, that would be incredible. I mean, if he could operate as a shooter out of the pick and roll too, that would be great. But for next season specifically, I don't know. Maybe if I'm in his ear, I would get him to watch a little bit of Jimmy Butler. Maybe Kawhi too, but I just think Kawhi's bag offensively is much deeper than Jimmy Butler's. And I feel like if Ausar played like Jimmy Butler offensively alongside Cade Cunningham, he wouldn't have to use so much energy on offense. He could still focus his effort on defense. That's my thought process. But I'm cool with Gerald Wallace. I'm extremely happy with Jimmy Butler. I don't know how it happened if he becomes Kawhi Leonard. It just wouldn't. I mean, you would tell me hard work and just practice, and I'd be like, I think that dude probably sold his soul or something. I don't know. That's ridiculous to say. The other night I was just curious about Grant Hill, because me and my client, the guy that comes in every week, he's like, Lance, let me ask you a question. He's like, who had it harder in Detroit? And I was like, okay, who is this? I'm doing his impersonation terrible right now. Impersonating him at a terrible level. But I was like, okay, who are we comparing? He said Andre Drummond or Darko Milicic. And I said, I'm not going to answer that because I think that's just a terrible comparison to players. Like, Darko Milicic did nothing in the NBA. He had a surprisingly like 7 years in the NBA, made an incredible amount of money. Kind of played well in Orlando and I guess Minnesota, but other than that, whatever. But I told him, I'm like, here's what I'll say about Darko. If you played his career 10 times over, I think 1 to 2 times he's considered a success. 8 to 9 times he's a bust. I just don't think it happens really for Darko Milicic in any scenario when he got drafted to the NBA. For Andre Drummond, I just want to make the comparison. Andre Drummond had real pressure on him. He was considered the franchise cornerstone, the savior, the guy that would pull us out of ineptitude. But it just never happened. I mean, even Chauncey, I can't believe I've never heard this quote before. But apparently in 2016, Chauncey Billups was quoted saying that Andre Drummond is our generation's Moses Malone. It's just absolutely crazy to hear that, right? Like, he was a rebounding machine, but Moses Malone was just such a sophisticated offensive player. Like, he was a true franchise, give me the basket, watch me work type of center. Andre Drummond was like, watch me rebound, watch me get my miss, watch me get my mess, watch me get my yes. Here's 52% on the field. Moses Malone, very different player. I understand the rebounding, but like, I don't know. Looking back at it, Andre Drummond was like a maximized version of Reggie Evans, just like nasty on the boards, not much to his offensive game, but somehow Andre Drummond put enough of it together year in and year out to get to an All-Star game and an All-NBA third team. All-Star game twice, which is crazy. But I think it was a bad comparison. And I was thinking about this, like, who would I compare Andre Drummond? Who was like someone that I didn't get to watch but was in my lifetime? And the only person I could think was Grant Hill. He's the only other guy that was dubbed the franchise savior that actually did anything. And we're talking about just strictly drafted. Let me be careful with that. Strictly drafted. Andre Drummond and Grant Hill, those were the first two outside of Cade. And obviously Cade has done a masterful job, but we're not talking about him right now. Maybe in a few years we can compare him and Grant Hill's time in Detroit, and that would be a lot of fun. But I think obviously the answer goes to Detroit. Andre Drummond makes an interesting case because Spencer Dinwiddie was talking him up. There's a Players Tribune article you can read. Like, I think Andre Drummond, I don't know if he ever came into the league and expected to be a franchise player, but the way he played on the boards and him just averaging a double-double, but then him getting 5 20-20 games in one season, it just set the expectations through the roof. And even though I think he got a fair showing in Detroit, it was just probably the wrong time for him to be playing an important role in a franchise that was struggling to find a star. But also, it's Detroit. They've never really been an organization that has developed young talent. It's kind of been more like, you got to figure it out. There's only so much we can do. That's what at least it feels like with me. So, like, I just felt like he was putting on fair expectations. I don't know if it ever happens in Detroit. It probably doesn't. But, like, I do think he makes an interesting case as, like, he was expected to do too much, wasn't put with the right players around him, maybe only one time. But then other than that, it's just like he just didn't have the skill set to be the franchise guy. Now, Grant Hill is really interesting because I didn't know all of this stuff. Now, I knew about the rookie voting. I think he was the number one all-star vote getter his rookie year, which is just absolutely insane. But then I was reading this article, and I only got a summary of it, but it was a GQ article, and on the cover it was Grant Hill is here to save sports, which is just crazy. And why you could probably make a comparison to Grant Hill having unrealistic expectations placed on any franchise player. But, like, just what was put on him, he was here to save the NBA. Like, Jordan had just retired in 1993. Grant Hill comes in. He's this quiet kid. He comes out of Duke. Nobody really knows anything about him. He had this crazy last play in the NCAA championship game. He played on the 1992 U.S. Select team that beat the Dream Team in a scrimmage. And, yeah, he kind of had a similar coming into the NBA story as Michael Jordan. So he was dubbed the next MJ. He was dubbed the savior. The NBA was looking for a new face of the league, and there was nobody present in the league outside of Grant Hill that could take the torch. Like, they loved his image. They liked, his family background, that he liked that he came from Duke. They liked that he was quiet and polite, and, he didn't sound like everybody else. It's just so crazy, what was placed on him. And then he gets the All-Star nod, and then his sneaker sells through the roof, way more than they expected. And then all he wanted to do was like, look, I don't know how to save the NBA. I don't know how to be the face of the NBA, but I do want the opportunity to save the Detroit Pistons. And Joe Dumars believed in him. Like, Joe Dumars has said, like, look, defenses are going to have to double team Grant Hill. He's getting away with a lot. And Allen Houston, he's going to be a threat. And you cannot not leave him wide open. Like, it's just, you gotta watch him. And it was crazy to me to find out they tried to bury Allen Houston on the bench, but that's for another time. But I thought the question was fun. I don't know if there's actually a player you can compare to Grant Hill, and I don't know if Andre Drummond's the answer. But for modern day players, for two players that were in my lifetime, one player I got to watch, I feel like they were handed the keys they were looked at and viewed differently at the time than they are now. Like you can say Grant Hill's not a franchise player. You could say he's an incredible Scottie Pippen to like whoever else is out there. But I don't know if Grant Hill was really quite the guy that could carry the team. Maybe in the modern NBA, maybe. But Andre Drummond, same thing happened to him. He had a couple 2020 games. He got the All-Star nod. He made the All-NBA third team, and then next thing you know, he's paid like a franchise player, and he just can't live up to the expectations. It's not fair for either of them to have the expectations, but it's also not fair to put them in a situation where they can't climb the ladder to reach those expectations either. I'm Lance Caporossi, and this is the 3 Championship Drive podcast. Thank you for listening. Do me a favor, follow, subscribe, rate, review, but more importantly, tell a Pistons fan